Do you have any boring photos with dull lighting and no pizzazz? Why not turn day into night to add some drama? In this video tutorial, you'll learn how to take a dull, lifeless daytime photo like this one and make it come alive as nighttime. I'm Darlene with Digital Photo Mentor, and I'm going to walk you through the process I use to do just that. This is the image I'm going to use to demonstrate the process. Here's a quick overview of all the steps that I use to create this final image. First, there's a sky replacement. Then I applied some develop settings, used magic light to turn on the lantern, applied neon and glow to give it enhanced color and brightness, applied neon and glow a second time to enhance some of the windows. Sunrays is the magic tool here. I'll show you how this one works. And then finally a color adjustment and mood to apply a LUT and the final look. So if you're ready to see this full edit from start to finish, let's begin. Okay, as promised, I'm going to show you how to take this image and turn it into something that looks like this. If you'd like to download this image and follow along with the tutorial, you can do so from Unsplash. I've made a collection of 3 different images that worked well for this technique and saved it on Unsplash. You can find a link to the collection in the description area below where you can download the images. You can pause the video now if you'd like to go download and then continue when you have the images. To get started, just head to the Edit module. The first thing you need to apply is a sky replacement. So scroll down to the Creative Tools and find Sky AI. The image that I used is part of my Sky Pack collection number 2. This one here. I have several night skies, including some with auroras. I'll provide a link to that pack for you in the description area below as well. So select the sky to apply it. And then we need to make some adjustments to make it blend well and fit the image properly. As you can see, the issue here is, first of all, it's applying over top of this building and this one here, and it's got a bit of a halo around the overall city. So first of all, I'm going to check to make sure that the position of the sky goes down far enough. That's better. So I'm looking at this line here to make sure that the sky extends below the level of the buildings. Next, head down to Relight and Masking. Be very careful with the global slider because the more you increase it, the more it's going to look for what it thinks is sky or stuff in the sky and write over it. And as you can see, what's happened here is it's gone over this entire building. So keep the global slider a bit lower. In fact, I'm going to go lower than the default, which is 30. I'm going to go to about 10. And now you can see it's not on this building quite as much. Then I'm going to use Fixed Details. Fixed Details will do things like if you have an antenna that's not quite having the sky blend around it, it will fix those details of the antenna. And closed gaps will eliminate sort of those little white outlines that you sometimes get around the edge. And it looks actually pretty good here. So if we take a close look, you can see it's still over this building a little bit. But I'm not too concerned about it because by the time we're done, everything's going to be darker anyways. The next thing you want to apply is the relight sliders. So under the scene relighting section here, when you increase the relight strength, you'll notice that it actually takes care of a lot of that halo problem, as well with the saturation. We don't have any reflection here, so I'm just going to turn that one off. But you see how well the relight strength goes to darkening the image and fixing that halo problem. Now that everything is darker and it adds that tint of blue to the scene, everything blends a little bit nicer anyways. So I'm not super concerned about it going over this building so much. Now, once I've got it sort of blended, I can decide to adjust the positioning or see if it looks better flipped the other way. I'm trying to find a spot where it looks a little bit less haloed and it blends nicer. And I think that works well. We can cool the sky off if you want more blue. I'm not going to do that just yet. I might come back and do that later. So for now, I'm going to leave it at neutral, as well as the brightness. If you darken it here, it kind of makes everything flat. So I'm going to use develop to darken instead of the brightness slider here. So let's close the Sky AI tool and hop over to develop. Now I know that I want to add some contrast, and we can do that with either smart contrast or curves, or a combination of both. Curves allows me to increase the highlights and darken the shadows and have a little bit more control this way than using just the slider. That looks pretty good. Something else you can do with curves is if you want to shift the color a bit more, we can fix the issue with the highlights. Notice how the wall has gone a little bit blue here? Well, I can use the blue curve and just pull it down a little bit. You see, the further I go, the more yellow there is in the highlights. And that just solves some of the issues with the buildings here. I'm going to keep it subtle. I'm going to add a little bit more black because that will intensify the color. So remember how I didn't shift the color in the Sky AI tool? Because I knew that by darkening the blacks using the develop tool, it would enhance and saturate all colors. So I didn't want it to go too far. That's just a matter of experience and knowing what the various tools are going to do. The other thing I can do here is increase the highlights a little bit just to brighten those stars. Now, as I do that, the overall image gets brighter, so it's kind of a little dance between increase the whites and then lower the exposure. Let's see how we're doing so far. There's the before and after. If you want to see just develop before and after, click the eyeball, before and after. You see how the sky replacement made it a little bit flat? So we've just punched up the contrast again. Let's move on to the next tool, which is Magic Light. To apply this one, you do need to have it installed as an extension. To make sure you have that, just click Extras up here, and you'll see all the extensions that are available to you. If you don't have that one or you don't see it here, you may need to purchase the extra extension pack or upgrade to the Pro plan for Luminar Neo. If you need to do that, just head to the Skylum site. I'll put a link for you in the description area below, and remember to use my discount code DPM10. This discount will apply even if the products are currently on sale. So if you happen to catch Black Friday or another special promotion from Skylum, remember to still apply the code anyways to get the extra 10% off. If you don't have Magic Light, not to worry, I'll show you how you can do this using the Neon and Glow tool. So I'm going to open Magic Light and just drag up the intensity slider. So usually what happens is the program finds any point light sources and adds a starburst to them. But what happened here? Nothing. It's not recognizing any light sources. So all we need to do is click the Add button, and I'm going to get a small brush. I'm going to zoom in to this lamp, and I'm literally just going to put a dot right here. And now that I've zoomed in, I can see that the sky is still coming over the buildings a little bit, so I might go back and adjust that. Zooming in is always a good idea to check your options. Okay, now that I've got a starburst, I'm just going to zoom out, and I can adjust the amount of glow, the length of the beams, and so on. I like 12 or 13 beams, something like that. Now let's go back to that Sky AI. So I'm going back to the Edits tab, back to Sky AI, and I'm going to zoom in so I can see it here. Maybe I need to scale back global a little bit. That looks a little better. Now I can just reapply the other tools and continue. I do see that there's a little bit of sky applying in here, but I'm not too concerned about it because, again, the overall image is going to be fairly dark. The next tool I applied in my previous process was Neon and Glow. And remember, I said you could do this even if you didn't have Magic Light extension. So let's just go and turn Magic Light off for the moment. Head down to Neon and Glow. And once again, let's zoom in so we can see it. I'm going to use the draw function, and I'm going to draw in some neon. So I'm literally just going to draw the light bulb, like so. Let's get a color that is a little more conducive to light bulb color. Dial the saturation down a little bit and just give it a tiny bit of glow. See how we can turn the light on? If you want more glow, just switch over to glow and go outer, and then let's do the same thing. When you drag the amount slider up, it should give us an outer glow around the part that I just drew. Aha, it's picking this down here. So I just need to refine the object. It's chosen this sign as the subject, so I'm going to erase it and then just draw it in here like I did with the neon, just a little bit. Make sure we've got the same color, little bit of warm glow, like so. Now I want to add some glow to some of these windows, because if it's nighttime and the lights were on inside the building, you'd see a bit of a glow in some of them. But in order to do that, because I want to use a different area, we have to close the tool and open it again. So let's do that. This time I'm going to use Inner Glow. So I'm going to head to Inner Glow, drag the amount up, and once again it's selected the sign. So I'm just going to do Erase with a big brush, fully erase it, and now I can choose where I want it to apply. So I'm going to use 100% strength, and I'm going to zoom in to these little windows here. I'm just going to get a very small brush, make the softness a bit lower so it doesn't glow outside of the windows too much, and just add a strip to each. If you mess up, just switch to Erase and check the edges. Make sure you don't color outside the lines. Now I've drawn in a few of the lights. I'm going to go back and adjust the settings. I want it a little more white, not so yellow, and a little brighter. Let's zoom out and see what it's doing. See how it's just turning the lights in the windows on? I chose not to do all of them, but you can do as many as you like. Another slider that is useful here is the background slider. So if we want to darken the whole image even more, you can literally just do it with this one slider. I'm going to go to -7. So now you can see what that tool is doing. Now, if you do have the Magic Light extension, let's see if we apply it after applying this and see if it picks up that light. Let's drag the intensity slider up. Aha, it did. Look at that. So if you apply the Neon and Glow tool first to brighten the lamp, then come back and apply Magic Light, it will pick it up and add a starburst for you. So that was a little bonus of doing them in the reverse order than I did the first time. Now I can do the adjustments once more. So I'm going to do 12 beams, and I like wider beams, so it's more of a glow as opposed to sharp like this. So I like wider beams, and let's have it glow like that. See that? Lovely. Once again, if you don't have the Magic Light tool, there is still another way that you can do this. I'm just going to apply this one, and then let's head to Sunrays. So keep in mind, if you don't have the Magic Light, you can do it this way. So drag the amount slider up to start, and then do Place Center, and make sure you put it right in the middle where that lamp is. Okay, now that's a little intense, so I'm going to dial it down. But this is where I get to adjust the warmth of the rays. So I can warm it up, make the light a bit warmer. My favorite is randomize. Now I want to pick the same number of rays that I did on the other tool. But remember, if you don't have Magic Light, you can apply the starburst this way. The only drawback of using Sunrays for the starburst as opposed to Magic Light is that if you want multiple or lots of starbursts on all the light sources, you have to apply Sunrays again and again and again, putting it exactly on each light source. So Magic Light gives you a lot more flexibility and the ability to do it once. Now we come to the key slider. Remember I mentioned at the beginning of the video tutorial that the Sunrays tool was essential here? I'm going to zoom out and show you what's going to happen. I'm just going to lower the amount a little bit because I don't want these Sunrays extending all over the place. The key slider here is overall look. If you take this overall look slider to the right, it gives you a lighter, more ethereal look versus to the left, darker. So it makes that light more prominent and everything else darker. Now I can adjust the length of the sun rays and make it a little bit more believable. That looks pretty good. But you see how it adds to that feeling of nighttime by taking the overall look to the left. And the further you drag the amount slider, the brighter the light gets and the darker the background gets. So be a little subtle on this one. I'll keep the rays a little bit shorter. If you're not familiar with these tools and how I'm using them to get the effects that I want, you might want to check out Luminar Neo, the complete course. Inside the course are over 45 videos and 17 hours of instruction. You get my raw files to practice with and follow along step by step, just like this tutorial. There's also a private Facebook group where you can ask me questions directly. I'll put a link to the course for you in the description area below if you'd like more information. Let's continue with the tutorial. Next, let's move on to color. There's a couple of different tools here that you can use to adjust the color. I'm finding that the sky has gone a little bit overly saturated and too blue. I have a video on avoiding the editing sins that can ruin your images. I'll put a link to that one in the description if you'd like to check it out after we're done this one. So what I want to do with the color tool is just bring the saturation of the blue down a little bit. See, the sky has gone a little bit too purple for me and a little bit too saturated. Likewise, while we're here, if I want to brighten the buildings a little bit or darken them to make it even moodier, we can darken the oranges, maybe brighten the reds, which is this roof here and the sign, and of course, brightening yellow will bring out the lights that we just added. So the color tool is a great way to refine these aspects of the image to bring out what you want. The other tool that I really love is color harmony. Usually it's in the professional section at the bottom, but I've added it to my favorites. The one that I use the most is color contrast. When you bring this amount slider up, I'm going to take it quite far just so you can see really what it's doing. Wherever the hue slider rests, those tones will be brightened and contrast added. So in this case, orange and red. You can see what happens if I scroll through. We can bring out the blue more in the sky. Be careful not to get too much green. I kind of like the orange, but let's just make it a little bit more subtle, like really subtle. So around 10 or 11. See, it's just bringing out those oranges a little bit more. These sliders are kind of cool because you can shift your cool colors, in this case, the sky, to be more blue or more purple. Likewise, you can make your oranges and yellows warmer or cooler. It's a small adjustment, but I think it's a good one. And of course, you can always mask it to just certain areas of the image if you choose. The final step that I applied to this image is a LUT. So using the mood tool, I'm going to drag the amount slider up to about 60. And then I'm just going to scroll through a few and see if there's one that looks good on this image. You can decide for your own image what look you want. Now remember, it's a little more intense than the final version because I've dialed it up to 60. But I do that on purpose because I want to see it a little bit stronger. Then I can choose to dial it down. I actually found one called Night Shift in my artistic LUTs. So I'm going to apply it and then just dial it down a little bit. Another one that might work well is if you have any that are teal and orange. The first one is not too bad. Or if you have the Land of Freedom LUTs that Skylum sold to support Ukraine, some of these work well also. I kind of like this one. I'm not even going to attempt to try and pronounce that one because it adds sort of an old world or grunge feeling. Let me bring the contrast down just a bit. Now I feel the image has gotten overall a little bit dark. But rather than adding another develop tool, I'm going to go back to the one that I applied second. Because overall here, I had darkened. So I'm just going to undo it. Then when I come back to the top of the edits, Everything will be applied again, and we can see if that is sufficiently lightened. I think that's better, but I'm going to make one more small adjustment down here, and I'm just going to bring the shadows up a little bit. That looks better. Let's take a look at the transformation. Here's the before, or the original image, and after. I think this is a great way to take an image that maybe is a little bit lackluster and do something completely different. Let's see how I did compared to the first edit. There's my original attempt and the one that I just did now. I think they're both good, but just different. So have some fun with this technique. I put this image into the Unsplash collection for you to try as well, and a third one. So see what you can come up with using the day to night technique. So just a reminder, if you enjoy my teaching style, check out Luminar Neo, the complete course now. It's a complete set of resources and information that you need to learn Luminar Neo from start to finish. To watch another video here on YouTube, just click one on the screen now. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.